What if I told you that one game was driving the market so hard in one country that they sold out of PS5's? Well, let me tell you, that game is Black Myth Wukong, and that country is China. Let's talk about it on That Game Plays. Hi friends, it's CC here on That Game Plays with the amazing, most informed game player I've ever known ever, Loki. What's up, Loki?
I was just excited and celebrating the fact that Black Myth Wukong is doing so good. No politics, no BS. Don't just have to play a good game that people enjoy. We've been wanting this. We've been asking for it, and it's here. And they're giving us exactly what we wanted.
Yeah, everything that we've asked for, and apparently everything that China has asked for, because as the headline here says over at Bounding Into Comics, lack of diversity complaints lead for demand for Black Myth Wukong, and Chinese PS5s being completely sold out. So there we go. The journey that broke the West. I love the subheadline there. And as we continue to go through this, we'll find out that games consumers find themselves in a strange place these days. Games made domestically in the U.S. have a laundry list of political hurdles to get through before making any headway into gameplay. And in recent months, games like Stellar Blade, Mecha Break, and Genshin Impact have been attacked due to the male gaze. In other words, female characters having aesthetically pleasing attributes and character creation options. Loki, do you like games that look good, or do you like games that are ugly?
I love games that look good. Now, don't get me wrong. There's that retro appeal. I love retro games too. I mean, you go back to the 8-bit stuff and the 16-bit stuff. I absolutely love that stuff. But if we're talking about a brand new game that's coming out hot that they want to throw that AAA label on, I want that game to look good. I want my time to be enjoyable with the game. I don't want a bunch of nonsense rolled in, a bunch of bugs, a bunch of things I have to deal with. I just want to sit down and have a good time and know that my money is well spent.
Yeah, and well-spent money when it comes to games is hard to come by these days, especially with Western game developers. And so Black Myth Wukong has deliberately disregarded the PC mores of our current culture here in the West. The result is PS5s flying off the shelves in China, so much so that reselling and scalping is back. That's crazy. Can you imagine that? Like that we have so many now that that's not an issue. You can get one easily, but in China, not so much.
Well, I picked up a PS1 when they first came out. It was very difficult to do that. I just got lucky. I got really lucky and got on a list and got one. But I remember everybody going crazy. $1,000 for a PS5. People were paying out the nose trying to get a hold of one. Scalpers were getting them all. It was terrible. And if that's all because of this game, wow, that is absolutely amazing. I'm so happy for the devs.
Well, I'm happy for the devs, but I'm happy for the industry as a whole because it really is pointing out that we can't have a gaming industry survive if they're going to have to meet with all this artificial, political correctness that really only a tiny fraction of humanity is asking for. The problem with catering to that fractionally small percentage of the population is that it alienates the rest of your larger audience that pays for things. And we have been talking about game studios that have made these, very narrow-minded games recently, not doing too well. I mean, what comes to mind, of course, other than Dustborn and Concord? Well, a laundry list before that, all the way back to the biggest fail at the time, which was the reboot of Saints Row. So I don't know, Loki. Do you think this is gonna wake up the games industry, or do you think we have more of this on the way?
I think we have more of it on the way. I don't think they're going to get their crap together yet. Black Myth Wukong is going to be an exception, but until studios start closing, until these companies start going bankrupt because of what they're pushing, until the entire industry opens its eyes and goes, we have a problem. We have stifled creativity. We have stifled our art to bend down and take a knee for DEI and these other companies like SBI, all of these people, until they open their eyes and they realize this is not the way. We need to get back to artistic freedom, freedom of speech, doing the things we love, creating characters that we love instead of kowtowing to these blue-haired, green-haired crazies. Till that happens, I don't think things are going to change.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And what's interesting, Insider points it out in his article that Black Myth Wukong is the very first AAA game produced by Game Science Studio. And you can tell because it's, as he mentions here, it's brimming with passion. A great deal of attention has been placed on incorporating the most successful mechanics of recent games with the most successful aesthetic of recent games. And it's just gorgeous. It's Souls like. It's not a Souls replica, right? There are differences, and it has just, I don't know, beauty to it that I don't see very often in games anymore. They seem to be very much downgraded. You've been playing it, Loki. What do you think?
Originally, I think I gave it a 7. I'd probably pump that up to a 7.5 or closer to an 8 now. The more I've gotten in it, the more I love the boss battles. It's challenging, it's fun, it's beautiful. Does it have some issues? Yes, and you can tell this is the first AAA game that these developers have made. I think they're going to up their game. I think over the course of the next couple of years, we're going to see vast improvements on what they're doing, and they're going to have a huge audience when they come out with their next game. This has lit the fires for this development team. They want more, they want to make more, and I think that the small hurdles you have to get through in Black Myth Wukong, that you may be like, oh, an invisible wall here or something there, I think they're going to fix all of that in their next title, and they're going to push for more of what they have done here, which is create a really fun game that kicks butt, takes names, takes no prisoners, and they did it their way without letting anyone come in and force them to change anything or kowtow to the way they wanted it. That is the way game studios should be. That is what they should be doing, is saying, this is our vision. This is where we're gonna come out with. If they are successful, great. If they are not, maybe pivot and figure out what you're doing wrong and start to look at how can we up our game and make our game better, which I 100% believe that's what these devs are going to do, is figure out, you know what, people didn't like this and people didn't like that. We're going to fix that on our next run through. But all in all, an impressive game, a very impressive game, especially for 2024.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous game, and which led to it selling over 10 million copies in just 3 days, as opposed to, Sony Game Studios, Firewalk Studios, selling just a few thousand or just tens of thousands of copies of Concord. I mean, this game kicked everybody in the teeth and ran forward, and it's basically followed the previous record holders of Elden Ring and Hogwarts Legacy and went by them very, very quickly. It's on par with obviously the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet game, and it's attributable, I should say, to just a quality product that people will gladly go buy and play because they're not caring about any of the politics behind it. So politics does not sell anything. And of course, you have the regular games media folks, the games urinalists, as we call them here, which we're trying to replace, folks. We call it like it is, and Screen Rant was just, a little salty with their their rating of Black Myth Wukong, which is 3. It's not a 3. It's not 3 stars. You just heard Loki talk about it. And the only thing that and this is pointed out by Cider, that Screen Rant can say about it negative is that game performance is unpolished.
That's
Perhaps.
not true. That's not true.
Well, they'll do better on some things that you couldn't do in this game, I'm sure, in the future. But this is their first AAA game. Okay. Second, lacking in inclusivity and diversity. They don't care. They're telling a story. It didn't need, require, or even make sense to install that kind of stuff, considering this is a game based in myth, fantasy, and well deep into history, in a culture that, well, is kind of a monoculture. So you're not going to get that. And then finally, gameplay becomes repetitive over time. If you ever played a Souls game, kind of repetitive. In fact, most games are if you play them. So,
and they contradict themselves in their previous comments. What they gave the game pluses for, they go ahead and contradict themselves with the minuses. They talk about, oh, it's great, the diversity and how much stuff you can do in the game, and then say it's not diverse enough. They Screen Rant just went and contradicted themselves. It's them being up their own instead of being honest with the players.
I will say this, that this isn't the only game that is, is going to thrive because of, well, things like are on screen now with this new Rainbow Six game, year 9, season 3, I guess. This is not going to go well. Trying to do this. We have a video about this. If you want to check out the operator in a wheelchair, we talk about it. Oops, right up there. You can check that out if you want. But this is crazy. I mean, you wonder why modern games are failing. It's because of inserting nonsensical stuff into them and forcing other kinds of elements into things that gamers don't care about. Loki, I'm going to give you the final word on this one. Are you surprised that consoles are selling out in China because of this game?
Not at all. I think this game was a welcome addition to the gaming world. It's something we needed right now. The devs team was brave enough to bring us something really good and say, no, we're not going to do this and we're not going to do that. We're just going to make our game. I don't know if anybody remembers, but there used to be house hearings and all kinds of stuff involved with government about artistic freedom and the ability to make these kinds of games. Back in the day, years ago, we fought for this and we won. And now, unfortunately, you have companies like SBI and other companies like them that want to enforce their visions on the gaming world, their visions on gaming company. And luckily for us, the devs over at Black Myth Wukong said, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to bend the knee. We're not going to kowtow. We're going to make the game we want to make. And they did that. And they are very successful because they did that. Bravo to this dev team. And I'm so glad that the PS5's are selling out in China and this game is doing as well as it is doing.
Yeah, I'm grateful too, and I am grateful to you, Loki, for joining me on this video. So we have to ask you, what do you think? Do you think it's kind of funny that a game made in China is causing for the Chinese PS5s to be completely sold out? Do you find it odd that, it has well over 10 million copies sold in just 3 days, and now we have several million more to add to that total? Do you find it odd that games like this are so successful versus something like, well, Dustborn, Concord, and, well, a whole list of others? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments section below, and do check out all the previous videos in a playlist that we have set up right up there. On that note, as always, get your game on!